Yeah, it's race week. Just down the road, heading down to Lincoln for Woody Greeno. It's gonna be a great meet. It's a big meet every year. Be heavy competition across the board. Everybody from Air Force, Wichita State, and some really good D2 programs will be there. And some local colleges as well. Probably be 200, 250 runners in each race. And just it's kind of fun and nice to be able to compete close to home. It's until our home meet this fall later on in October. This will be what normally would be the closest to home for our kids, and so it's just a good opportunity to sleep in our own beds and get out there and be able to compete and kind of have a bit of a more normal routine as opposed to being on the road. We are going to go Kawhi Leonard this week and practice some load management. We're going to rest quite a few kids as we look towards that bigger picture. I think we talked a few weeks ago about resting Danielle at some point. We've actually moved that up to this week. She's a little banged up. A couple other guys, men and women, they're typically going to be in our top five. They're actually going to rest this week. So from a team perspective, it might not be a great measuring stick of where we are right now, but we're going to give those younger kids are going to have the opportunity to step up and be in that scoring five or the top seven for us and just have some of those experiences. But when we look at the big picture for our goals later this year, resting those kids right now is the best, best thing for us to do, big picture. So.
From just a preparation standpoint, what does this meet present that the first one didn't? How is this going to challenge your group in a different way?
It's a great question, man. It's entirely different. We've been meeting with kids this week just about looking at race strategies and stuff, and it's hard to explain this meet. It's 400, 500 meters straight away. 200 people, they're going to be within 2.5 seconds of each other, and then it's a sharp left turn. And getting our kids to understand that if you're 3 seconds back at that sharp left turn at 400 meters, you're literally going to come to a standstill because only so many people can turn sharp so fast. And so just them understanding and getting used to running in that big crowd is going to be a big difference for them. It's very unlike the course at Augie, where it's a long straightaway, more gradual turns. Running in the dark is obviously something we don't have to deal with this week at Nebraska, but it will be a different feel for sure. This is going to be great prep, especially for those younger kids getting ready to head into Missouri again in 2 more weeks. So a good step in the right direction for them, just getting some additional experience under their belt.
How do you kind of seize just the opportunity, like you said, to be able to stay in state, sleep in your own beds, and go to a meet, and just kind of how do you just executing on that and that benefit?
Yeah, it just really is kind of helping them continue to adjust to life here, which is still a lot going on. And for us to be able to not have to miss any class on Thursday, or Friday, either one, we'll head over to Friday evening for practice over there, get back home, still be in bed normal time. Wake up Saturday morning, no different than we would for a Saturday practice, drive down to Lincoln, and just a little bit of having that routine, which I think will be exceptionally nice this year considering we have a home meet later than the season. And so that's almost going to be hopefully make that home meet more routine from them, whereas in the past, this week has typically been, in the past we've gone to Notre Dame or something like this, which is a lot of travel and flights and everything else. And, we talked about a couple weeks ago, just us understanding as coaches, like the toll that takes on our athletes, through the course of the season. And this is just us continuing to do a better job of helping them manage load overall throughout the whole year.
Have you conveyed it to the team yet, the plans you have for resting certain players yet?
Yeah, absolutely. We're very, very open book with those conversations throughout. Even the beginning of the year, we talk about, hey, we're probably going to rest somebody here or there. And so, yeah, we went over this morning at practice. They've known for a couple of days that there's people who might be rested, and we went over this morning at practice who was specifically going to be rested. For the first time since the fall of 2008, for the first time, we'll have a different number one on the women's team this coming week. That's been Danielle's spot every race she's ever put on a jersey, and I expect that when she puts on a jersey again in 2 weeks, she'll be back to that number one spot. But for the first time since August of 2018, we'll have a different number one spot on our women's side. And that's a great opportunity for someone to step up, because guess what? Next year, Danielle won't be here. And so someone's going to have to be ready to step into that position. And, Danny Bonham is not going to run this week. He's got a little bit of a muscle tweak. He's been seeing some treatments and those things on that side. Tommy Ward's not running this week either. Tommy was our number 2, and that was planned rest for him as well. We just learned over the last couple of years, Tommy needs some rest throughout the season and can't handle full season racing. That's fine. We can still be very successful just by that load management. So
I don't know how much. I mean, because there's a lot of new faces on this team, right? So you're trying to still figure out, like, okay, is that a good thing or a bad thing from a body language standpoint? When you're conveying the message that here's our plan for this week, here's who's running, here's who's not, how do you think they responded to that, especially the people who are going to get opportunities that maybe they wouldn't have gotten before?
Yeah, I think they're excited. I think some of the freshmen might be maybe a little nervous, right? Like, oh, I'm going to step into a scoring role this week. But I also think that we got a bunch of really smart kids, and we got kids that understand big picture always. We're big culture people, and to understand that the team is greater than one individual unit at any point in time. And for us to give those kids the opportunity to step up and for them to see that and seize that, I think that's something that they're looking forward to, excited about. And they also understand, the reason why we might be resting some. We'll rest people at Missouri as well too, and that's just the goal, the understanding the big process of it and not just being so focused on the moment of where we're at. And that's part of running. That's part of life. We talk about that. We can't get caught up in so much today when there's so much more in front of us. So.
Like roster depth allows you to do that?
Yeah, this is the first time in my 4 years that we've had the depth to be able to do this. Coach Fayers and I were talking yesterday when we were just talking about who we might rest. We're resting potentially as many people this week as we had on the roster my first year here, and that's just when I started that very first year, and we knew that we had to get to this point to have this type of depth to be able to work towards being good and being successful week in and week out and over the long term. And so, yeah, to build the roster up to this point, to have the depth and the talent to be able to, rest somebody as needed as opposed to kind of have to push through, which should set us up for better performances towards the end of the year.
Any further questions?
All right. Before we jump off this real quick, let's talk about Coach Booth for a second. I've been wanting to talk about this since last Wednesday. Matt, you know this as well as anybody. I know she's going to walk in here in a minute. But when you talk about a woman who is absolutely incredible in every sense of the word, who took off a program who was 3-24, playing in a high school gymnasium at Omaha South to nearly 17,000 fans, taking the number 2 team in the nation to 5 sets. Like, there's, she's going to walk in here. She'd hate it if I was saying this right now. But you could go across the entire country, and you could probably go across further than that and anywhere to find a coach who's done it better and who's turned the program around from literally the very bottom to where they are now. It's absolutely incredible. And, volleyball, this is a volleyball state for sure, but to acknowledge what she's accomplished is pretty special and spectacular. And to see 17,000 people there the other night, and that was pretty awesome. And just props to her from not just from the people around here, but from everybody that's got to see what she's accomplished. And Matt, I know you've been around long enough to see that. Did she walk in?
Yep.
Booth, come here. Come on. No, absolutely not.
I'm sitting by you?
You should have. Pull up a chair.
She's going to hate this.
She is. She's absolutely going to take this. So, Booth, I was just saying, as my time was wrapping up, as you were walking in, how awesome it's been to literally have had you as a mentor for the last 4 years and to be able to learn from you. And
Desperate times.
She doesn't know. When I first started here, I used to sit at the top of Sokol and just watch. And that was before they had the Ruth. And to learn from her, and we just talked about culture and what that's meant for my program the last couple of years. And to literally learn from the GOAT of what culture is. And she humble, but she's fierce. And it's been amazing. And she's a very special part of Creighton, and what she's done, in her time here is absolutely masterful. So thank you.
Well, remind me never to sit by Gannon again during a press conference. But that's very nice. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of your press conference.
Thanks, Gannon.